Writing variant equals standard. It equals 74,218 inches. White VIP steals black couple seats. Didn't know husband owns the airline. The boarding gate fell silent the moment the argument began. Not the usual kind of silence either, the kind that comes from fatigue or distraction, but a sharp, curious stillness. The kind that spreads when people sense something unfair unfolding right in front of them. Amara Johnson felt it before she fully understood it. She tightened her grip on her boarding pass and glanced at her husband, Daniel, who stood beside her, calm as ever, his expression unreadable. Around them, passengers slowed, subtly shifting closer, their attention drawn to the raised voice at the front of the first-class boarding lane. "I don't care what the system says," the man snapped, adjusting the cuff of his designer jacket. "These are my seats." The airline attendant hesitated, clearly caught off guard. "Sir, I understand, but according to the manifest, I fly with this airline every month," he interrupted, louder now. "You're not going to tell me I don't belong in first class." Amara exhaled slowly. She'd seen this before. Different faces, different places, same tone. Daniel leaned slightly toward her. "Let's just wait," he said quietly. She nodded, though something in her chest tightened. The man at the counter, tall, polished, exuding entitlement, turned slightly, his gaze sweeping over the line behind him. That's when his eyes landed on them. On Amara, on Daniel. There was a pause, barely a second, but it was enough. His expression shifted, subtle, but unmistakable. He turned back to the attendant, lowering his voice just enough to sound controlled. "Look," he said, "there's obviously been a mix-up. Those seats were reserved for me." The attendant glanced at her screen again. "Seat 2A and 2B are assigned to Mr. and Mrs. Johnson." "That's impossible. They checked in this morning." The man let out a short, humorless laugh. "Then fix it." Behind him, a few passengers exchanged uneasy glances. Amara felt Daniel's hand gently brush against hers, a quiet reassurance. The attendant swallowed. "Sir, I can't reassign seats without authorization." "Then get authorization," he snapped. "Or are you telling me you're willing to inconvenience a VIP customer over this?" He gestured vaguely behind him. Toward them. The meaning didn't need to be spoken. A hush fell deeper over the gate. Amara stepped forward before she could stop herself. "Excuse me," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Those are our seats." The man turned slowly, as if only now acknowledging her existence. For a moment, he simply looked at her. Then at Daniel. Then back at her. "I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding," he said, his tone dripping with politeness that didn't reach his eyes. "Why don't you take economy? I'll make sure you're compensated." Amara blinked. "Compensated? Yes," he said, as if explaining something obvious. "Miles, vouchers, whatever you need. No need to make this difficult." Daniel stepped forward slightly, his posture relaxed but grounded. "We're not making anything difficult," he said evenly. "We're simply sitting in the seats we paid for." The man's smile tightened. "You're holding up boarding. So are you." A flicker of irritation crossed his face. The attendant shifted nervously. "Sir, ma'am, please, let me try to resolve this." She tapped rapidly on her screen, clearly hoping for a solution that wouldn't escalate things further. But the system didn't change. The truth didn't change. Seat 2A and 2B still belong to the Johnsons. "I don't have time for this," the man muttered. "Just override it." "I can't," the attendant said, her voice barely steady. He leaned closer to her. "Do you know who I am?" The question hung in the air. Amara watched the attendant freeze. Watched the pressure settle onto her shoulders. And for a moment, she almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Before she could speak again, Daniel gently squeezed her hand. "Let's not argue," he said quietly. She looked at him, surprised. He gave her a small, reassuring smile. Then he turned to the attendant. "It's okay," he said. "We'll take economy." Amara's head snapped toward him. "Daniel, it's fine," he said softly. "But those are our seats." "I know." "Then why?" "Because this isn't about the seats." His voice was calm, steady, grounded in something deeper. She studied his face, searching for frustration, anger, anything. But there was none, just quiet certainty. The man let out a satisfied breath. "See, that wasn't so hard." Amara felt something twist inside her, but she said nothing. The attendant looked torn. Sir, are you sure? I can call a supervisor. It's all right, Daniel said. Let's keep things moving. Reluctantly, she nodded, adjusting the seating assignments. Economy, row 22, she said softly. Amara took the new boarding passes, her fingers brushing against Daniel's. She didn't understand. Not yet. As they stepped aside, the man walked past them without another glance, already pulling out his phone, his voice shifting into smooth, confident tones as he began a call. Behind them, whispers spread. Did you see that? That wasn't right. Why didn't they say something? Amara heard it all, felt it all, but Daniel kept walking, so she followed. The economy cabin was already half full when they boarded. The contrast was immediate. Narrow aisles, tighter seats, the hum of conversation louder, less restrained. Amara slid into her seat by the window, her movements slower than usual. Daniel took the seat beside her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she turned to him. Okay, she said, you're going to have to explain that. He smiled faintly. Explain what? Why you just gave up our seats to someone who clearly didn't deserve them. Daniel leaned back, folding his hands loosely. Do you trust me? He asked. She frowned. Of course I trust you. That's not the point. It is. She studied him, searching his eyes. There was something there, something she couldn't quite place. You know something I don't, she said. He didn't deny it. Just give it a few minutes, he replied. Amara sighed, leaning back in her seat. A few minutes, she repeated. 18, actually. She raised an eyebrow. 18. He nodded, glancing briefly at his watch. Give or take. She shook her head, half amused, half frustrated. You're unbelievable. Not the first time I've heard that. Despite herself, a small smile tugged at her lips. But the tension lingered, because whatever Daniel was waiting for, it hadn't happened yet. Up in first class, the man settled into seat 2A with a satisfied sigh. This is more like it, he muttered, adjusting his jacket. He glanced at the empty seat beside him. 2B, then flagged down a flight attendant. Make sure no one tries to claim this seat, he said. I'll be using both. Sir, the attendant hesitated. That seat was originally assigned. It's not anymore. She nodded quickly. Of course. He leaned back, already scrolling through his phone, the incident at the gate fading from his mind as quickly as it had begun. To him, it was nothing. A minor inconvenience, resolved. A reminder of how things worked. Or how he believed they worked. Back in economy, Amara watched as passengers continued boarding. Her thoughts drifted back to the gate. To the looks. To the tone in that man's voice. She clenched her jaw slightly. It wasn't right, she said quietly. Daniel turned to her. No, he agreed. It wasn't. Then why let it happen? He met her gaze. Because sometimes, he said, people reveal exactly who they are when you don't stop them. She frowned. And that helps how? He smiled faintly. You'll see. Before she could respond, the cabin door closed. The safety announcement began. And somewhere, in the quiet spaces between routine and expectation, something shifted. 18 minutes later, just as the plane began to push back from the gate, the intercom crackled to life. Ladies and gentlemen, the captain's voice came through, calm but firm. We're experiencing a brief delay due to a seating verification issue. Please remain seated. A murmur spread through the cabin. Amara glanced at Daniel. He checked his watch. Right on time, he said. What is going on? She asked. He didn't answer. Not yet. Up front, 2 uniformed officials boarded the aircraft, their presence immediately noticeable. They spoke briefly with the lead flight attendant, then moved toward first class. The man in seat 2A looked up, annoyed. Is there a problem? He asked. One of the officials stepped forward. Yes, he said. There is. The man frowned. Well, make it quick. I have a schedule. The official held his gaze. Sir, we need you to gather your belongings and come with us. A beat of silence. I'm sorry, you're not assigned to this seat. The man let out a short laugh. That's already been handled. No, the official said evenly. It hasn't. Passengers nearby leaned closer, sensing the shift. The man's expression hardened. Do you have any idea who I am? The official didn't blink. Yes, he said. We do. Another pause. Then, slowly, deliberately, he added. And we also know who owns this airline. The words landed like a shockwave. The man's confidence faltered for the first time. What? The official gestured toward the back of the plane. Mr. Daniel Johnson is on board. Silence. Real, absolute silence. The kind that leaves no room for denial. The man turned, his gaze sweeping down the aisle. Searching. Finding. Daniel met his eyes from row 22. Calm. Unmoved. Watching. Understanding dawned slowly on the man's face. Then all at once. No, he said under his breath. Yes, the official replied. A long, heavy moment passed. Then the man stood, not with the same confidence as before, but with something quieter. Something uncertain. As he gathered his things, the reality of what had happened settled in. Not just the mistake, but the choice, the assumption, the way he had spoken, the way he had looked at them. Back in economy, Amara felt her breath catch as the pieces fell into place. She turned to Daniel. You own the airline. He gave her a small, almost sheepish smile. I was going to tell you on this trip. She stared at him. You gave up your seat, on your own plane. He shrugged lightly. It's just a seat. Her eyes softened. No, she said quietly. It's not. He didn't argue, because he knew what she meant. The man from first class was escorted down the aisle, every step heavier than the last, every gaze on him now. But different, not admiring, not impressed, just aware. As he reached row 22, he hesitated, looked at Daniel, looked at Amara. His voice, when he spoke, was quieter. I didn't know, he said. Daniel held his gaze. I know. A pause. I would have. I know, Daniel repeated gently. The man swallowed, the weight of the moment settling fully now. Then he nodded once, and kept walking. The officials turned back toward Daniel. Sir, one of them said, we can have first class prepared for you immediately. Daniel glanced at Amara, then back at the official. It's all right, he said. We're comfortable here. Amara looked at him, something warm and steady rising in her chest. The official hesitated. Are you sure? Daniel nodded. Very. They stepped back, respecting his choice. As the plane finally began to taxi, the tension that had filled the cabin slowly dissolved. Conversations resumed, but something lingered, a quiet awareness, a shift in perspective. Amara reached for Daniel's hand. He squeezed it gently, and for the first time since the gate, she understood. Writing.